Welcome back to Politics Nation. You're looking at live pictures from CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, wrapping up outside of D.C. this afternoon. Former President Donald Trump is expected to take the stage to deliver the keynote address at any moment. Within the last hour, Trump won a straw poll with 62% of the votes. His closest challenger was Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who scored 20%. Joining me now to talk about it is my political panel, Maura Gillespie, former aide to former Republican Representative Adam Kinzinger, and Michael Hardaway, former staffer to Democratic Senator Dick Durbin and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. CPAC has traditionally been a showcase for Republican presidential hopefuls. Let's start off with Trump's presidential campaign, which was announced in mid-November and has been off to a rocky start as the former president has dealt with self-inflicted scandals and legal investigations. Trump has been doing a bit of reset in recent weeks. Last week, he visited Ohio after the train derailment there, and he has proposed some unusual new policies, including a national contest to design futuristic freedom cities with massive skyscrapers and flying cars. This question is for both of you. Is the third Trump campaign looking more serious than it did when it kicked off? Maura, you first, then Michael.
It's more serious. I would say no. I think this is about ego. We've seen it with the East Palestine train derailment showing up there. It was a political move. It was self-serving. And unfortunately, I think that's what we're going to keep getting is a ego-driven campaign by Donald Trump.
Michael?
I agree. He's not a serious candidate. And this is about ego, in my view. And if you look at his actual policies, there's no there. This just seems to be an exercise in self-promotion and possibly get back for losing the last election.
Now, another Republican presidential candidate, Nikki Haley, gave a speech at CPAC yesterday and was heckled by some Trump supporters while she was taking pictures. Take a look. Other potential Republican presidential candidates, including former Vice President Mike Pence and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, decided not to attend CPAC at all. If you're a Republican with presidential aspirations not named Trump, is it better to show up or skip it? Maura, you first, then Michael.
CPAC used to be important. It used to be relevant. And now it's just a side note for people in the D.C. political bubble to talk about. And that's really where it is now. And I think you're seeing that with the minimal attendance. I thought that Nikki Haley attending was a misstep because we do need thoughtful leadership. And it's great to see a woman running for the highest office in the land. I just don't see how this was a positive for her to attend and kind of bend to the portion of our party that shows up at CPAC. It is a Trump fest, and unfortunately, she did. So I was disappointed.
Michael?
No serious individual should show up to CPAC. It currently is a circus, and Matt Schlapp is P.T. Barnum. By the way, it's interesting to me that Matt Schlapp, who has been accused of sexual assault, is still hosting this event. And none of these Republican candidates have been made to answer for their participation, notwithstanding those charges. And so I find that interesting. But I will say that CPAC today is a complete joke, and no one who truly is a serious candidate should show up to that.
CPAC grew into a major event for Republicans as the party veered to the right during the Trump years. But now that right wing appears split between those who still love the former president and those who want to move on. Maura, does CPAC still matter?
I think the lack of attendance and it being mostly a Trump-supported event does tell us that maybe, and again, I'm being an optimist here, but maybe we're seeing the light that we have to move on and move beyond Donald Trump. And that's my hope with CPAC this year. But I'm not, again, but like most people at home, they're probably not paying attention to what's happening at CPAC. And that's a good thing. We need to move forward and move beyond this fringe of the party.
Michael?
CPAC still matters for the far right. I think no moderate Republican is paying attention to what's happening this week, but the far right has essentially turned CPAC into one very large Trump rally. And so it matters for them, but in this grand scope of whether CPAC helps decide the Republican candidate, it's irrelevant.
Well, I think that clearly we're going to see later former President Trump and what he has to say. And I'm sure to many of us, it will not matter. We're looking at him live right now, taking the stage and clapping for himself, though he's probably trying to act like he's clapping for the audience, but he's clapping for himself as he always does. Maura Gillespie and Michael Holloway, thank you for coming. Let's take a break. Coming up.